to pick a thesis for college, and I'm picking Dillon versus city or authoritative rules. It's gonna be a tough one for me.
You're gonna battle yourself.
Pretty much. I know my professor's like, remember, you have to be positive and negative. I'm trying.
All right. 6 o'clock, I'll call the meeting to order. We'll dispense with the Pledge of Allegiance unless there's any objections. Can I get the approval of the agenda?
I approve. I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Old business. Good stuff. Well, to get Nick up to speed, I guess. Well, did you want to say anything about the new building so far?
Oh boy, we're just really in the very first baby step stages of building right now. We had a meeting last week, with Widseth, went over a few things. It sounds to me like we're ahead of schedule right now in the planning phase where we're at. That's really about it right now, unless there's anything specific you'd like to know about the building at all.
Oh, no. Yeah,
That's really, I mean, there's not much to cover on that for right now.
And the
There
liquor
will be
store?
soon enough. What's that?
And the liquor store remodel? Redo?
They're gonna hire, well, Steven's gonna look for a kitchen consultant so that they can really nail down what the kitchen is gonna look like. That seems to be, everything else for the addition is nuts and bolts. Nothing's changed since we discussed it in like May or June. The only thing that they're really trying to work on right now is what that kitchen will look like when the office is moved. So that's probably their biggest obstacle right now. We have another meeting next Tuesday, so hopefully we'll get somewhere with that. Trying to fit in the equipment we have now, and a couple of the things that Shonda would like to move into, a double air fryer, or a fryer itself, something bigger, so, and maybe even an oven, so that the food menu can actually expand. So that probably was our biggest discussion when
I'd
we
say
met.
that's what we spent the most time on. And
Yep.
The main reason for the kitchen consultant is, like you said, to maximize what space we're gonna have for that kitchen and usability.
Right. So that we're not just cookie cuttering it back together again. And
Yeah,
making
it's
sure
not
that, right,
kind of a patch job the way it is right now.
Yeah.
Do it once.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly. Once and done.
So that'll be what we're probably gonna nail down next week. Otherwise, yeah, I thought the first meetings went really well.
Any word on the furnace?
I have no idea what's going on with our vendor at this point.
I've not heard anything on that either.
Now would be the best time for it to get in since we're closed,
Yeah.
but I don't know. My last update and discussion with Mendex was they needed us to make sure we have the propane tank installed. They thought that was behind 2 to 3 weeks, and we got the co-op to do that in less than 2 weeks.
I think the tank's been in for
A month now.
at least, yeah.
Yep, and filled and everything and routed in. So we're just waiting on, I think we're just waiting on Tony right now. He's either suppliers or
Oh, yeah, I know.
or whatever.
Okay, I was just
So-
wondering,
I think a lot of it is just,
take advantage of some dead time.
yep. So hopefully that'll still get in before the end of this year.
Anything else?
Mm-mm.
Just quick question. What's a hot topic for next week?
For
Our
your
meetings?
building?
You know, for just thinking back quick, I know for the pond building, he's supposed to be coming back with, a more detailed kitchen view, essentially. Like we said, that was our main thing there. For ours, I'm not really sure exactly where we were at with that.
He still needs to get me some additional numbers that goes above and beyond the building for funding so
True.
that I'm applying for the right amount through USDA.
Need to make sure that we know what our fees are, his fees especially.
Well, I think his are already laid out.
His are laid out. It's
Okay.
the site prep and any other engineering or other fees that are coming
I
on
think that
top of
was
that
really
I'm
the-
still waiting on to hear.
That was kind of the main thing, was the site prep.
Okay.
They were gonna start surveying
Mhm.
soon. The
Yep.
guy was out west
He
hunting
was
or
gonna
something.
Mhm.
call and wait for, they
So
were
we're gonna
supposed
start
to come back.
surveying and kind of figure out elevations, what we're gonna need brought in to fill and all that.
So we can get that
I think
estimated too.
that's kind of where we are.
Good.
Since Mother Nature's being so nice.
Right.
And maybe I heard wrong, I thought he said his fees weren't included.
They weren't.
They weren't, the
They
1.5.
weren't, But he did have them in the original proposal, if I remember right, his fee was in there.
It's just not, it's listed,
Correct.
but it's not included in that 1.5 that the building would cost. That's the
Right.
building. The 169 is his fees. That's on top of that.
Right.
So
Did we decide where we're gonna go with that if it goes up higher?
I did talk with Todd Hagan and Gail Leverson in regards to that. And you may remember when Todd was here discussing the finances with the board. From a general fund, a levy standpoint, the most the city can borrow on that point, even with those other two debts sunsetting, is 1.1. And that's why we broke that off, so that like 600 grand was being funded by the utility. That 1.1 can't change. Okay, so we went with that 1.5 million starting point because that's what we knew the building would cost. Anything additional above and beyond of that is going to have to get funded into the utility.
Right.
There's nothing else we can do about that because we cannot borrow any more on the general fund standpoint. We're capped out. So think about it as term of this is what your credit limit will allow to borrow. That's it. Our credit limit is maxed out on that side, you guys. So anything else will either, the water and sewer account will have to take over, which means fees could increase down the line in order to accommodate for that.
But we've already budgeted for water and sewer to essentially take on like 200,000 apiece, right? Because we're saying it's a 1.5 building, we're borrowing 1.1.
Oh, you mean of how much of the debt it will absorb?
That you're saying that
each
water and
year.
sewer's on the hook for right now.
It is already.
Right.
But that's included in that 1.5.
Right,
So
correct.
anything more that side will just keep.
Right, I just
growing.
wanted to clarify, if it goes beyond that, then we're possibly looking, like you said, at
At a rate increase.
rate hikes.
Right.
As of right now, we've done all this stuff that we've done this year with equipment, this possible building coming, without having to raise rates. So we're sitting pretty good right now, I think.
So when we say rates, we're talking base rates or usage rates?
It could be both.
Okay.
Chances are it will have to be base rates for sure. Volume rates isn't negotiable. It really depends on how much we're pumping.
And
Base
again-
rates is all you can really guarantee.
Again, this building is water, it's sewer, it's parks, it's police,
Right.
it's streets, it's everything. Unfortunately, the only two departments that can
Make
be tapped
money.
into are water and sewer.
Right.
So we'll do what we have to do and hope that we don't have to cross that bridge.
That's all the questions I had.
Yeah, I saw you shake your head.
No,
Oh,
I'm just agreeing with all about it.
all right, and, okay, well, trucks are supposed to be here.
Made a phone call today. Unfortunately, he wasn't in the office this afternoon. Pretty much tells me that they haven't shown up there yet, or he would know that they were there. So we get a hold of him tomorrow morning when he's back in the office and see like I said, they were scheduled to be built on the 2nd of November originally. Then it got pushed back to the week of the 16th, which would have been last week. So, yeah, I don't have any solid answer at this point, unfortunately. With this
By
being
December
Thanksgiving,
1st would be,
I'd love to see it, but with this being Thanksgiving week,
I doubt.
Guarantee it
I'm
won't happen.
guessing that they're probably not even gonna show up to the dealership until next week.
Mhm.
At which point they go from there over to Hermantown to get fitted with the sander and the plow and all that stuff, and come back to Hibbing, and then we'll get them. So
I
I'm
remember when
hoping soon. I mean, I'm
Like
sitting here thinking,
Christmas?
come on, we're getting really lucky right now with this weather. I'd like to see them as soon as possible.
when we picked up that 2017, when it was actually ready for pickup, from the time Bob picked it up to the time we actually started using it, I think was like a month.
Will Hermantown fast tracking? This is a bad time of year to get plowed, so.
They know
Us
they're
and everybody
coming.
else.
They know that. What's that?
I said us and everybody else that needs them.
They know the pickups are coming. They know that, we're a municipality and that we
Right.
use them a lot.
Okay.
And that's our main setup for salting this year since we made the switch over. So I'm hoping they can get them in and get rocking and rolling pretty quick on them. I mean, they do this all the time, so they know what they're doing. They're going to be fast about it.
Just a quick question. So, with the salter and sander being on the pickup truck, does that mean we could potentially get them on the walking trails too?
Yes.
Good.
Yep.
hot water.
I spoke with Bruce today as well. Some lines got crossed somewhere along the way. He was waiting on us, we were waiting on him.
Oh, okay.
So him and I are gonna get together on December 16th. Sit down, talk about it a bit, make sure we're on the same playing field. And we'll go from there. We'll make sure to kind of keep on it now. Again, we were sitting here waiting, thinking, we haven't heard anything, and he was doing the same thing. So nothing new on that other than we're gonna be going the right direction now.
Okay.
I don't know if the library is still on here. or
The
It is.
not.
library's still there, yeah,
That's,
just so that we
uh,
don't forget it.
That's been taken care of.
Oh, all right.
That's fixed now. Until summer basically, and we decide what we're really gonna go after over there, but the weak portion of the deck has been fixed. The problem essentially right in that corner is you had a stringer that was sitting right on the ground in that corner. It just rotted away. The nails pulled out, and pulled it apart, put some new lumber in it. Should be good to go now.
So you want me to remove that from the old business?
I think we can until next spring.
I would guess if we're,
I'd really wanna see some. I just see that back deck man, that's gonna be bad. That's gonna be a lot more expensive than,
in the front, with needing the handicap access and everything, the front to me really should be concrete. If we're gonna do the wheelchair ramp and not continue to put money over there constantly, then we should just, again, one and done it. So maybe that's something we look at out the back too, possibly, I don't know.
Yeah,
if
does
we
it
did-
need to
if we
be a
did-
deck or can it just be a concrete patio?
Well, this is what I'm thinking, if we're gonna do concrete for the ramp out front, we're gonna probably have to do a bit of a concrete ramp out the back. But then maybe we could come down to just a concrete pad,
Mhm.
then we don't have these issues.
It'll be a lot less maintenance in the future.
The only problem with that is that there's quite the slope from the alley to the
That's true.
building.
That's true.
So we might have to look at possibly a little bit of landscaping over there to divert some
Water.
water, just so that it's not sitting down there, but some drain tile or something around it, I'm sure we could get that figured out pretty easily.
one
The
and
can of
done.
worms.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know,
Open it
yeah,
right up.
and it's gonna get, yeah. when we deal with it. All right, how does everybody want to deal with these resolutions for annual appointments? Since the election's now over, do we just want to throw it off till January?
I think you're gonna have to. I think you're gonna have to have some of those vacancies in there because, and if you wanna table this until I discuss the vacancies and everything, I can put it all together at that time.
Sounds like an idea to me.
Cause
I mean,
nothing's changing right now.
No, everybody's stalled.
Mhm.
Anybody good with that? Everybody good with that?
Works for me.
And Christina, the
Mhm.
sales tax.
So I'm finally got some time today to work on reaching out to the Department of Revenue. I've got the preliminary resolution for the city to approve, but since we did this for the 2018 election and they changed the parameters and the instructions, some of the things that have to be in this resolution, I don't have the statistics for, and I need to get with the revenue department in order to meet that up. It's not our core information that we had from our capital improvement plan is a start, but it's not everything I need in order to get this going by January 31st. So I've got a little bit more homework to do.
Okay. But looks like something we can do.
I think as long as I can get in contact with them and get a little bit more clarity on how much we can receive, because the last time the city got any feedback from the Department of Revenue on how much sales was done in the businesses in the city was like 2011. So we're looking at a decades old numbers, and it doesn't make any sense to go off those in my mind. So I'm trying to get it as close to now as possible. Typically they give cities, 1 to 2 years behind, not 10. So, and even in 18, we were a little bit closer, but I mean, right now, if I went off of 2010's numbers, we'd be looking at like 26,000 a year. If it was a 0.5% sales tax, but I know that sales have increased since then, just if we look at our own enterprise funds. So I don't feel like it's accurate, and I want to make sure that that's right. Because what it'll do for the city is, and for the legislature, it will give them a better idea of how long we'll have to have the sales tax, because part of the agreement is they need to know how long you're gonna do this for to achieve what end result. And I don't have that number. I know how much it'll cost, but I don't know how many years we're gonna be able to do it, because I don't know how much we're actually taking in as a city for businesses.
And that would be, just for our streets, correct?
Streets and infrastructure. The capital improvement plan that was passed, I want to say it was 18, was about a $4 million improvement. It was 20 years, 4 5-year processes, and each section had a certain area. Each 5-year span had a certain section of town. Most of it was dig the whole street up and redo mains and do services and then put new street down. So I have additional copies. I think I still have the PDF of it. So like Nick, and I don't even think you were here yet.
No.
I can provide that to you guys.
I think I have a copy of it at home.
Okay.
But wasn't Woodseth doing something with that too?
Yeah,
Like
every
for
year.
The whole city doing it all at
That's
once, these guys coming in.
Yep, and that's the PER that Lynn is working on, and he's been working on it for us all summer. So that'll help us in this process. But my numbers are a lot more raw in order to start this process than what Lynn is doing. His is a lot more deeper dive.
How are they coming with that? Anybody get any feedback from?
Yeah, he's still working on some numbers. I talked to him week before last. But what my communication with it on him is more the rates numbers. So he's doing projections for part of this too.
Right, it's not going to be done in one
Oh gosh,
summer.
no.
Yeah,
No, he is still working on it.
okay.
I don't have a timeline as to when you guys are gonna see a completion.
Let's just hope they don't use 2020 against us for
Or against
sales.
anyone.
Right.
Oh,
I'm just hoping that they can see how we're steadily going up and then allowing us to manipulate the numbers to say
Yeah.
if this wasn't because of COVID, these would be our real numbers.
Yeah. It's hard to do projections right now.
And our beer and wine liquor licensing.
Okay, so I left this back on the agenda because the last time we discussed it, I didn't have all the information. I started talking to some other cities and alcohol and gambling and comparing what we do have on our ordinance versus, obviously, we're talking about Patrick, right? Last we spoke, Patrick wanted to be able to offer a different, liquor license, have a different liquor license because he was pretty sure 3-2 was going to go away at some point. After speaking with a couple other cities, because obviously we're all in the same boat here, I discovered that what we existing have already in our ordinance, we have a wine license, we have a 3-2 license, we have that intoxicating beverage, and then we have those special permits. And what I discovered is Patrick can legally with the state ordinance, state statute, if he holds a 3-2 license, and for us, we charge $150 for that. And then goes ahead and applies for his wine license, which is an additional $150. That by holding that wine license and then having subsequently an additional inspection from the Department of Health for his capacity of his restaurant portion of the bowling alley, he could then get strong beer without having the city to have to change our ordinance. So he would just need to have both of those in possession to satisfy the state regulations. So I'm not changing the ordinance at this point. It doesn't seem necessary.
No, if they're considered hard beer and wine is the same thing.
Exactly.
Exactly. So I sent Patrick his renewal, made notation of that. I've emailed him more than once in regards to what I found since October. I just don't know what his path is going to do. He does, like I said, he's going to have an additional inspection from the Department of Health because it's that 25-seat capacity on the restaurant side that has to be maintained for him to hold that wine license. I imagine there's 25 chairs in there, but
Oh, yeah, he could do that easily.
whether he satisfies that or not, I don't know. But that is part of the requirement, but it would not require the city to have to change the ordinance for him to be able to achieve what he wants to do.
And that means no public hearings.
Correct. So if I may, I would like to remove that from the agenda. I know I brought it up
Nope, that's
for
great.
reasons,
I
but
say
it doesn't look
that's
like it's something I need to work on. Patrick just needs to decide if he wants to move forward in that path.
Yeah, he's the only one that it's.
That it's satisfying,
So,
right?
onward, new business.
Okay. So I provided to you guys the resolution for fees and charges for 2021. This is how it has been since we added the second offense for a public nuisance. And at this point, after doing water and sewer rate studies, I don't see any need to increase anything from Mike's departments. And to be totally honest with you, I don't know if anybody in the public can afford to be charged any more than what we're charging now right now because of COVID, but that's a separate concept. But I don't know. We go through this every year.
Yep.
Before we adopt it in January. So up for any discussion. Did I send this to you too?
Yeah.
I know we talked when we were doing this last year about how important it was to increase little by little. So what we're looking at on here is a no increase.
Right,
correct?
this is exactly how it is right now.
Cause it was $25, right? Or $20 for the first offense and only a first offense?
I was talking about the water and sewer.
Oh.
I'm sorry, Jason.
That's
Sorry.
okay.
Okay.
We did bring up two, but, yes, I believe you're right. We went from 25 to 50 at the beginning of the year, and then we added the
The
second one.
second offense.
And then, yes,
Yes.
everything you see here for water and sewer is what was adopted in January of 2020.
It was new this year, and what were the old rates?
What we did was we increased all the base rates $3,
Yep.
and then we matched the volume rate of sewer to water.
That's right.
So we haven't even done that a full year yet.
We didn't raise the water rate
No, we kept the water rate the same.
usage wise.
Keep in mind, if something, I mean, like we did in August when we added the public nuisance second offense, just because the council adopts this on January 1, doesn't mean it has to stay that way. So in this whole process with the buildings, if we find that the utility is gonna have to change to absorb the additional costs, those changes can happen at any point.
That would just make it a motion, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then Paige and I will make sure that the residents that are hooked up are more than notified like we did last year.
With the way this year's gone and the COVID and all that, everything else we're doing to try to trim everywhere that we can to
Mhm.
make our stuff happen. You know, I know that we did talk about steadily, slowly increasing year by year by year, so that we didn't end up with this big hit, kind of like we did last year, trying to get
Well,
on
yeah,
track.
stuff hadn't gone up in, well, I don't know,
It had been quite some time.
10 years.
The only, I think really the only thing that I would question, if I remember right, there's without looking at it, there's like a multi-dwelling fee
Yep.
on there. Unless I'm misinterpreting that, I'm assuming that's essentially for your apartment buildings.
It is, and it's per unit.
And the only thing I question there is why that wouldn't be the same price as a single family home.
Okay,
That's their house, they're living there, they're most likely using the same amount of water as a single family home would use.
mhm.
So for them to be at 13 and the single family home is at what price?
18.
18.
Seems kind of odd to me.
Good conversation.
I mean, I could see
Well-
maybe a little bit less because
Do
they're
most
not
of-
watering a lawn, you know?
Do most of us, the apartment buildings in town have washer, dryer?
I know LilyPad does. I'm pretty sure
Each unit?
Wheelan does.
Wheeling still, yeah, each unit.
I mean-
Senior apartments, I think, do.
The new ones?
You're talking
Not.
washer and dryer in the apartment
the
No,
itself?
no, I mean, even on site, but,
Yeah,
Oh, I know they've got them on
They've
site.
got 'em on
for
site.
sure.
but are they coin operated or are these people, would they be paying for their water to wash?
I know
the clothes
LilyPads
twice?
are in their units,
Mhm.
and I think Wheelan's are too.
Wheelings are correct.
But I think Wheelan's are stacked, so
Okay, so
they're a
Just-
little smaller.
They're still in there.
But they're still in there and
in
it's
their
part of
unit,
that person's rent.
Like you say, they're not paying their water bill and then having
And
to
then
go
paying
down
for their
and
laundry to get done.
coin operated
Right,
laundry. I see
'cause-
what you're saying.
I know that's the way it was here when I lived in an apartment up above,
Mhm.
across the street.
Right.
There was a coin operated washer dryer in the,
I
on the
think
main
it's still
level.
there.
The Charlies?
No,
Oh.
Oh, you're
It's where
talking
the
the
old-
old family foods.
Hardware
it used
store?
to be the old coast to coast.
Oh.
Yeah.
See, with the apartment buildings, well, I shouldn't say it. Never mind.
But
But again, it's just something that I kind of question a little bit, why there's a $5 difference there per month. You know, from the apartment to a house. I could see a little bit of difference, like you say, because they're not out there doing their own lawn stuff with watering and whatnot.
Right.
washing the car.
I can't remember if I got a water bill or not when I was renting.
Well,
A lot of landlords take care of them.
that's the other thing, you know, really, when you come to the apartment buildings, I think we've got one meter in the building,
Huh.
so it's almost
divvy it up.
Well,
On average.
it's almost irrelevant, actually.
Because it would wash out with the coin operated.
Well, when you look at it this way, it's $13 for a multi-dwelling, so when they get their bill, Christina,
Mhm.
that bill is going to, obviously, the landlord of the place.
Yep.
They're not paying, if they've got, let's say, 30 apartments in the building, they're not paying $13 fees, are they?
Yeah, they are.
Well, they are,
Yes, they are.
okay. So there again, then, it's not the occupant that's actually paying the water bill, it's the
No, it's
property
the
owner.
property
So
owner.
the coin operated would just be negated at that point.
Yeah. It's whatever volume.
So there
Yeah.
again, it's per volume. Really, honestly, I think sometimes apartments tend to use a lot more water
Mhm.
than your house. So I think that we're losing out on quite a bit of money there.
Well, yes, I'd be in favor of raising it up.
You know, if that's $5 a month,
Yeah.
what's the biggest apartment building in town? How many apartments in there?
22, 20.
Blackduck Senior, I think there's 26.
So 26 at $5 a piece. You know,
Right.
Times
on
12.
on a monthly basis.
Right.
Well, could we keep theirs lower, but just increase their volume usage?
No, volume has to be across the board.
Has to be
It's-
across the board.
Right,
Our
yeah,
billing
volume's the
system would-
same no matter what.
Yeah.
Okay.
So theirs would be that base rate change.
Yeah.
And it's just something that, I mean, I'm gonna throw it out there is why are there almost shouldn't be different base rates. They should all, base rates are base rates.
Correct.
Like another $52 just for the senior apartments a month.
How much?
52.
$52 a month.
Yeah, I think I did that right.
That's $5 less right now.
Mhm.
There's 26, so 26 times 5.
Mhm.
So it comes out even more than $50.
130. I don't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100.
Phone calculators don't always work the best.
So 130 there and then times 12,
Mhm.
Yeah.
you know, you're not gonna get close to $1,500 more a year on that one
Mhm.
building.
Yeah. And then that one and that one, the Whalens, I believe it is.
Mhm.
Yeah. There's $3,000.
So it's just a little bit more to help our water department fund itself, you know. But
Yeah, I'm in favor of matching the price.
And without having to do across the board increase, we still have a small increase this year too, and without really slapping it or making it feel like it.
Understandable. And they do say the businesses are the ones that run this or help support the city.
I do know that some of the tenants there, depending on what building they're in, their rental increase overall when things like this happen.
Yeah, the landlord will pass it on.
Mhm.
Right.
Not that it matters, and I'm not a calculator, but 26 times 5, I think is 73, isn't it? Or no, 78.
I think I just did it too. That was 130.
130.
Yeah.
26 times 5?
That's
you guys
130.
are doing tonight.
I say I just did it too.
26 times 5 divided by 3.
26
Oh.
times 5 is 130.
But that was a side note.
I'm
As
glad
far
you're
as
not in
this-
charge of jail sentences.
Oh my goodness, my brain is mush. Today's been busy. As far as fine schedules and stuff, we have, and I know I don't want to get a big thing about the snow parking and stuff, but could we easily switch the wording to one of the 3 things we can cite for snow removal to be our catch for when we tow the vehicle? We have snow emergency, EPA and snow removal, we have one other one.
Not without changing the ordinance,
Okay, I didn't know.
because they're all
Just
refer
so
back to it.
everybody, whoever is giving those citations, we're using the same one. I would like for us to use the same of the 3 when we tow the vehicle. It's easier for us to keep track of, was the only thing. But we can just say, if we're gonna tow it, we'll use X, Y, or Z.
Right.
Could we get that switched by the December 7th?
No.
No.
Yeah, we don't.
You have to have
it's
2
not-
readings of
that's
an
right.
ordinance.
If
and
it
there's
has to
such
do
a-
with switching the ordinance, I just didn't know if we could make little tweaks of just like the words of what the verbiage says is all. So, not a big deal.
The other thing under water and sewer that Mike and I have discussed since last year is our bulk water fee. you and I were talking about actually putting together a policy or some other type of standard rate for this, because
For the bulk hookup, which is right now, what is it?
It's
$50
$50
fee, and you get 1,000
1,000,
gallons.
and then it's $20 per thousand after,
1,000 after that.
and that hasn't been charged for a while either, changed, excuse me, so I don't know, the last time we spoke, you wanted to put something more in place.
It wouldn't hurt for us to sit down if we got some time and look at that. So it's $20 for 1,000 gallons, right? What does that come out to be per gallon?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
That's basically nothing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm wondering what that rate is compared to the rate that we're charging our residents.
I was gonna say, I'd rather.
I think that's how this originally started, is that
Mhm.
we thought that that rate seemed a lot lower than what we were charging our residents.
Right, that was it, that's why I was thinking, okay, so 1,000 gallons divided by 20, right?
Yep.
$20, 50.
50 cents.
50 cents a gallon?
Mhm. And we charge we charge 0.0066 per thousand, per,
No, that's, something's not right here.
we got the decimal point in the wrong place again, Mike.
At 50 cents a gallon for 1,000 gallons would be $500.
Yeah, that's not right.
So
Yeah, the
what you
decimal
gotta
point's
do
gotta
is
move over.
50 cents divided by 1,000,
Right,
and then you get 0.0005.
which is less than what we
Far
charge.
less, because we're charging our residents
Point
0.066.
0.0066. Where is it?
Oh, you round her up to 7.
0066.
So
So that should actually be,
at a minimum,
it should be the same rate we charge
at
per
a
gallon.
minimum, it should be the same rate that we're charging our residents.
$66 per thousand. Right? No.
No.
Sorry.
0.0066, right?
Yep. Times 1,000.
66 cents.
$6.06
Yeah.
per 1,000 gallons.
Okay.
We're all having troubles with math here.
That's a bad word, yeah.
So yeah, we're charging $6, $6.50 for 1,000 gallons of water.
To fill those,
Now think about that for a second. Just put it in perspective. $6.60 for 1,000 gallons of water. How much does a bottle of water cost at the gas station?
Exactly.
What are they now? $1.99
$2.50.
for
yeah,
20 ounces of water.
Depends on the brand.
So you go, you're gonna go over to the beach with the kids. You stop and you grab 4 bottles of water. You could have bought 1,000 gallons of water from the city.
Mhm.
Just to put in perspective how low I personally believe our water rates actually are.
Fill up a refillable container.
In that case, put Fuji on our water tower and charge.
$1
$5 a can.
$5 a can.
So that's why I mean, I know I probably sound kind of like the bad guy to a lot of people all the time, saying that this needs to go up a bit, but people got to understand. I mean, we're charging nothing for the water that we're making, basically.
Where are we compared to the other cities around us?
I haven't done a comparison since last fall, but my guess is that whatever I brought to you guys last fall when we did this hike is
Yeah.
probably pretty damn close.
I think we were right in there.
Mhm.
I think, and again, everyone tries to keep their rates down. I mean, we all need water.
Mhm.
Nobody wants to. We're not trying to really profit here, but we're trying to make our department run.
Understandable.
So
Did we ever get that meter for our water? I thought, summer, we were talking about how businesses are using our water and might not be telling us how much they use.
we have not. I've talked with Dean from Corn, Maine about that. One of those deals where he hasn't really been able to come around because of the COVID stuff. He's pretty much just flat out working from home. When he does come around next, we're going to try to kind of figure out what would work best for us. You're talking filling out of a hydrant.
hydrant or the water tower or wherever anybody uses water.
And this
For
is
bulk.
another thing, that I really didn't bring up to circle back around to the new building. It's a thing that's going to be very, very little cost to us, is to actually put in a real fill station.
Mm.
We will have the area, the space for large trucks to come in, turn around, put in a real fill station, and we can do that on a coin operated setup if we want, or if we happen to be around, we can manually override it. So where you put in a quarter and you get X many gallons, or however that needs to be done. It's super simple, super easy to do, so that we can get away from having this problem, and we can say there are absolutely no circumstances where anyone should come into our town and hook to a fire hydrant.
Right.
So, long story short, I'm working on it, Jason.
Awesome.
So then, circle back to this bulk water fee. Does this need to change for 2021?
I think it should. I think it should change so that the actual water should be the same price that we're charging our residents.
So instead of it being bulk for 50, we'll just use for just 0.006 per gallon, no matter how many gallons you use.
I think we should probably, if we're going to do that, the hookup fee should maybe drop from 50 down.
Because that includes 1,000 gallons, but
Right. So maybe that needs to drop down. For the most part, the guys that are coming they're getting a hold of me. They're coming and hooking up. They can hook up on their own. They know what they're doing. I give them the authorization. Yep, go ahead. They know which one to hook to. They do it on their own. So that fee that's there, maybe drop that down a bit and just raise the.
And that's supposed to be a 1-day fee?
See, and that's the thing where I have kind of an issue with it, because, so if you look at like Red Lake Builders when they were here, and that reminds me, we need to talk about that situation. Red Lake Builders took a ton of water from us this summer.
they were supposed to keep track of it.
What's
They
that?
were supposed to keep track
Yeah,
of
have you
it.
seen anything on that?
No.
Neither have I since they left town. But with that being said, with the fee worded the way that it is, with the fact that there's a $50 right now, there's a $50 one-time fee. So did that $50 cover them from the time they started in town?
It's for
So-
each connection.
So if it's for each connection, then with the rates, with the way it's worded right now, they should have been paying us at a minimum $70 every single time they touch that hydrant.
And to spur off on that, Pink's, who does the Denny, it's not Denny Pink. Can't remember his first name, but one of the people that actually uses our water, that does drilling.
Oh, the well
The
drilling?
well drillings. They always supply to me what they've done each time and how many gallons they've pulled out, and then I invoice them at the end of each year. When I got those reports last year, I invoiced them for 18 and 19, because they would normally give it to Bob, and Bob wasn't here. And I invoiced him for every single time he hooked up. Well, we had a little falling out because that's not how he was charged in the past. So I explained to him, I said, this is how the statement reads. I said, this is how it was. So I actually altered an invoice because what we had versus what we should have had was a huge difference. So, there are other cities that do this, but they don't charge a ton for it. They charge for the water,
Exactly.
but they don't charge for a hookup.
And that's where I think we need to change to it.
Yep.
The hookup fee probably just needs to go bye-bye.
Yep, because that's where the breakdown is. And I think Red Lake Builders would probably say everything Pink said to me too is, you go to another larger town, they don't actually charge you to hook up. There's no connection fee. He's not doing anything.
No.
So there's no service that we're offering. They're doing it all themselves. The only thing we should be charging them for is the water they're buying from us.
Yep, once in a while, somebody might say, hey, I don't know where my fitting went, do you have one? Yeah, I'll
Mhm.
swing over and throw one on for you, no big deal.
Right.
But other than that, we're not tapping into anything, there's
Right.
really no reason to have that connection fee on there.
Right.
And
And we
having that
do so
connection
seldom
fee,
do this.
having that connection fee is going to lose us possible money, you know,
Right.
or just have people, you know, going to other towns or not doing what they would have done anyways, so.
I don't think
we get
Bemidji
rid of-
charges a connection fee. If
I think we get
remember
rid of the
right.
connection fee altogether, we raise the rate of the water on there so that it matches
The
our
volume.
residents, or even possibly go a little higher than that.
Mhm.
Being as we are going to be providing water to most likely an outside business, so to speak.
Mhm.
You know, we are selling them something.
I think we should be charging a little bit more also. And if you've ever watched some of those water trucks,
Mhm.
is there one of them that doesn't leak?
No, no,
I mean,
I think that's part of the deal.
they don't, I mean, they're pouring water from the time they start filling.
Yep, yep.
How big are those trucks?
Oh, they range, I mean, they
Five
range from 3,000 to 30,000.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
If they're pulling in a big tanker semi, there's a lot of water in there.
So what do we use as a gauge to figure out what that?
Now with that,
Per
with that
1,000
question,
centimeter.
are we giving them potable or non-potable water? Because we could charge different
Oh,
for
it's
each.
potable.
It's
We don't have non-potable water.
Yeah, so, I mean, we should be charging more because they're,
Because it's treated.
Well,
exactly.
it's drinking water that they're
Yeah.
taking. Yep. So if we wanted to,
where should it be?
That's what I'm asking.
what's that?
Where should it be?
What should the number be? We'd eliminate the hookup and just change it so the language says
How
per
does-
1,000 gallons.
How does 1.5 times what we charge our residents sound?
so
Yes, no.
potentially $1.30 a gallon instead of the 66 cents.
No, we're charging like 6 cents a gallon.
Oh, I got what you're saying. So,
It'd be like 12 cents, not even 12 cents.
Mhm.
Be 9 cents a gallon,
yeah. 1.5 times, okay.
right?
Mhm.
And it's
Still
totally up to you guys. I'm
It's
just
still
throwing
a
it out
steal, if you're asking me,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
considering what's being done with it.
Mm-hmm.
You and I figure out the number and we'll plug it in for January.
Okay.
Are you guys fine with that?
Yeah.
I'm good with voting on a higher number.
there. We'll get something figured out. Then
Yeah.
we'll
And
sit
then
down
drop
and
the
knock it out.
hookup.
bring it
And we'll
back to
drop
you.
the hookup charge.
Most definitely.
Yeah, if that's gonna be the way that
Mhm.
makes it easier for everybody to understand,
Okay.
then I'll agree with it.
And then these businesses are gonna be on the honor system, right? To tell us exactly how much, or are we going to go to a meter?
They
For
need
right
to
now-
clear it with him first,
For right
typically.
now, they're on the
The
honor system,
Mhm.
and unfortunately, I don't think the honor system's really working out.
That's kind of where
So,
I'm leaning towards.
Again, with the new building coming, we're gonna set up a way that this is it. If I catch anybody hooking up to a hydrant, we'll go to some sort of fine system on that. They know that you need to come down to the new shop,
Mhm.
go to our fill station, and whether we, put something out there where you pay X amount and X many gallons come out, or
And then
someone
that'll
has to
be,
come down and read a meter before you can fill, we'll do something.
Because right
Okay.
now, there's only a couple of vendors that are using it.
right. No, I understand that. So, for the fine, we'll have to, redo our ordinance then?
I don't know what we'll do with that for now, Jason. I was just throwing out there that.
No, I understand. I'm just trying to think ahead, so the next time we're gonna do an ordinance change, we can put that on there.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know how you would do any of that, but
I'd have to look at it because I don't know if the water and sewer ordinance actually even has a penalty listed.
I'm sure not. I'm sure there's not.
It has a penalty for what, users pay for not unpaid bills, and that's it.
Yeah, for
Right.
not,
So
You
that
know.
would be an administration fee then?
Well, if there's a set price for the business and they know, it's a theft. If they know it's there, it's a theft.
True.
So, I mean, we have to prove they knew, but if we can prove they knew what it is by a statement from Mike saying I explained it to them, they came in, didn't think we were here on Saturday and they did it, there's a theft.
Or a piece of paper says, hey, here's our rules.
Yep, exactly,
Sign here that you've read this.
Exactly.
yep, and then there would be a theft.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And with all that water that got dumped there, I mean, that's a hell of a felony.
Oh, around the
Yeah.
scenic? Yeah, there was a lot that went out.
Yep.
And I haven't seen anything
I
at this
wrote
point.
down to maybe check in with them.
Yeah.
A lot of the times when Gladens was here working on the roads too, we didn't charge them until like now.
Well, and you know,
Cause that's when they're doing all their billings to the counties and the municipalities for their jobs anyway.
with that kind of thing out there, you know, there are times where, you know, if they wanted a bunch of water and they had a bunch of millings or some gravel or things like that, you know, you're willing to trade
Mhm.
and make that trade. I know that was out on the table for a little while this year, and then all of a sudden the pile they had went bye-bye. They went bye-bye,
Schaffner's took that.
you know, so,
Yeah, I think Schaffner's took that for his road.
yeah, yeah. It was supposed to be kind of available, and then that went away, and like I said, shortly after that, they went away, and I haven't heard hide nor hair of anybody since, so.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, especially for a business that's been doing this for 10 years or longer on that road, I think it's been. I mean, there has to be some standards.
It just kind of depends on who the contractor is, though. I don't
Yeah,
think
so
Red Lake
it's-
Builders had the whole,
I think all they had was the last 3 months.
yep, they didn't have the whole contract.
Okay.
But yeah, circle back around the whole thing. We're working on trying to get it. straightened out.
Understandable.
Okay, so anything else under the water and sewer then?
I don't believe so.
No.
Um,
Like you said, I don't think this is the year to raise it
Okay.
necessarily.
No, I think just bringing that one set up so that it matches everything else is a good enough move for this year.
Sure. Oh, and the
Mm-hmm.
commercial condemnation versus
Okay.
hazardous structure. I read this
Okay.
and what up? Yeah.
When you say you read this, are you looking at my entire document with the league's memo?
Yeah,
Okay, just so I can follow what you meant.
and from what Joe said,
Yep. So it has risk. Okay, I mean,
yes, it does.
it has risk. But who takes on that risk is usually, you know, the biggest issue. And for-profit companies, if they have enough money, they can go ahead and absorb it themselves. I know the development corps doesn't have that kind of money. The grant process
Well, here's my
can only be
question
done
was,
by government entities.
and I'm not trying to point fingers here.
No,
But did they maybe bite off a little bit more than they could chew on this one?
I would be willing to admit that when the concept of acquiring those buildings and getting them leveled was discussed originally a year ago, it seemed like an easy, quick process because they too did this to the old dental office, wherever that was, I don't know. And it didn't cost them that much to do. And they ended up with an empty lot and then Anderson's bought it, is what I was told. So I think they went into it with a little bit of blind faith. I don't think they realized how bad the Trails Inn was until they acquired it, which, you know, I guess buyer beware, but I mean, their minds were in the right place until they actually heard about the roof failing.
So they bought a building without an inspection done first. on
They
blind
knew
faith.
that the buildings needed to come down.
Okay.
So whether or not the inspection would have told them anything less, I doubt.
Okay.
The question on the table at this point is how much will it how much will it cost for it to come down?
Yeah.
So
And we're gonna absorb it as the city and then potentially give it back as a grant?
Little bit. The way both processes work is the city has to acquire ownership
Mm-hmm.
in order for the grant process to actually happen. Yes, because the development court can apply for it.
Mhm.
Ultimately, if you're going through either one of these processes, what happens is the city has the ownership, they take control of it, they'll take care of the cleanup, and then that dollar amount gets thrown on and assessed to the property, at which point down the road, whomever purchases the property pays that assessment. Whether it's the full amount or not, depending, like, let's say the grant pays for 50% of it, then the city only has to assess the part that's being loaned, you know? Then it doesn't seem like that big of a number, but we still don't know what that number is. So what I'm doing for you guys is to try to give you a true realistic picture of the couple of options. I gave this exact same document to the development corps as well after I spoke with Joe. And I know that the development corps is working on getting in touch with somebody that could give them a number.
That was my next question.
Okay, and I don't know what that is. And
When do they meet next?
December. When they get that, that will be, that will be determined at that point. But again, if the city and the development corps wants to work together, obviously that's what's going to have to be decided. Sorry.
Have they decided if they're gonna keep it as 3, 2, or one lot yet?
That would have,
Or is that gonna be on the December as well?
I would say that, yeah, it'd probably be discussed then, but
They got to get
I think they'd be foolish to
not.
Would as one.
combine it all
Yeah,
as
that
one
third
chunk.
property too, they still don't have ownership of yet.
Okay.
Yeah. Joe said that, that third property they don't have ownership kind of throws a little twist to the whole thing. He strongly suggests the development corp continue their efforts. As I stated in my memo, one of the things that the city can do for that one property is the city could issue an administrative search warrant to get into the building from the courts, to then have our inspector actually do a true inspection of the building to see if that one had to come down too. Because the inspection that we had Township and Range do, he was basing his judgments off of what he could see from the building next to it. Okay. And Joe reviewed that summary statement as well from Township and Range, and he even said, it doesn't clearly say from our inspector that that building is a nuisance. The court would want to see a little more clarity on that, and that's when he brought up that administrative search warrant. If the city chose to do so, it could, and then it's a filing that Joe would do, allowing Andy to come back in and look at that. I don't know if I've got enough time, but I know Andy's coming back to do his re-inspections on December 2nd, but that's only a week away. I don't think it's enough time, but Andy's pretty flexible. He would come back regardless if the city chose to. I'm just trying to steer the board with the most information as possible to try to figure out, where the city's role would be in all of this.
So, I mean, I even drove out to that gentleman's property, to his residence,
That owns the third parcel.
that owns the third parcel, and
Mhm.
still couldn't actually talk to the person, the name on the deed.
Yeah.
And when they said that it was sold to somebody else who has a bill of sale,
Right.
I don't know, that, is that bill, can somebody show up with that bill of sale and go, hey, what are you doing?
I think so. Just throwing out ideas. The property taxes are paid, so we can't go after it like that way, saying it's unpaid.
Are we talking the third parcel?
The third parcel,
The-
correct?
No, they're in default, but they haven't gone completely back to the county yet.
Okay.
I think
and
he's
then-
got one more year.
And then my next question is it an abandoned building?
What constitutes an abandoned building?
I don't know that,
Yeah,
but I'm just trying to throw out other ways to expedite this process a little bit.
I would say, in my opinion, it would be abandoned. The 7 years I've worked in the city, I've never seen anything or anyone in it,
Okay.
except a cat.
I'm just trying to find a way to push this process along a little faster.
Yeah, and I think that's where Joe was too, is, if you can get in there and get a good assessment of the condition of the property, that will help. He said that the Crow Wing County does a lot of the Hazardous Structure Act in their county, quite a bit, but each county manipulates this differently. So in Beltrami County, when you have tax forfeited property, it goes back to the sheriff's auction. And then what happens with that money, if you buy a property, is it actually gets reused and it typically goes into that community development fund that they grant money to. Okay. That's how our county does it. Some counties actually take those properties upon themselves and do this, and then resell the property, and that's where the money gets recouped. But each county does it differently. Ours doesn't. And I don't believe, and I haven't verified this, but I don't believe our county would, because I've never heard it anywhere else in the county before, not in Bemidji or anything. And there's a lot of tax forfeit property up in the Washkish area that has been on the sheriff's auction year after year after year. So I would think if the county was going to take anything and take a structure down to improve the property to get it to be resold, they would have done it by now. I just don't see that happening for us. That was one of Joe's suggestions based on his experience, but this does not go without any other risk too. Example that he gave me was, because he helps the city of Cass Lake too, is they were trying to put one structure down with condemnation, and it was kind of like some of these attached to another building that was actually being used.
Oof.
And the owners of the existing building found out that the other building was going through condemnation, and they started suing the city because if they took that building down, they would have had to fund to the other owner's building to keep their walls up. That's why this inspection on this third parcel is kind of important, because there's some unknowns here still.
This is gonna drag out.
Oh, it would drag out regardless. Yeah.
It's just gonna drag out.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be a short process at all. The condemnation process takes much longer than the Hazardous Structure Act does, and that's why most cities go in that path. But again, if we want to, as a city, absorb the ownership, take ownership of all three from the BDC, if they ever achieve ownership of that third one, the city would need to do that, and even just to apply for the grant. And we don't even know if the grant's going to be funded until December 1. So there's a lot of unknowns. Yes, you're right. I'm just trying to keep you guys as up to speed as possible.
Is that the way you think they're leaning? I mean, are they leaning for the city to take, for us to?
When I met with them for the November meeting, I didn't know all of this information yet, but I knew that at some point, if you did condemnation, ownership by the city had to happen, especially when I shared with them how the grant process works. And Dwight Kelvig is like, if we could get that off of our assets, that would be great. And I get it. I understand. But I'm not counting on, I told him, I said, I don't know if that's for sure. I mean, it says right in here that the city has to find a public purpose to own those properties if you do condemnation, which means like, let's assume the city.
See, that's the hang up.
That's the hang up. Let's just assume the city wanted to. They could find a reason to have those 3 parcels. Let's say this building was starting to fall apart and we needed to have a new city hall.
A new storage area.
We need more plow space.
Yes.
So that would be a public purpose. If you really chose to be able to do it that way, then you'd have to have a reason for that process to start. And it would have to be a logical reason that serves a purpose to the entire public.
So we wanted to put in a laundromat.
Yes.
And I thought
Good
about that
point.
too. I also threw out the ideas to Joe that, we do have unrestricted MIF money that we have in that 250, that revolving loan fund, that can be used for general purposes for the city. Does it solely need to be just for loans? No, it doesn't, not anymore. So it is up to the city to choose to use that money how it pleases. But again, it should be tied to somewhat of a public purpose.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, that would definitely help.
But, one could argue the fact that taking down 3 very destroyed buildings to have a new building put in its place serves a public purpose.
Mm-hmm.
It gains, redevelopment space. It brings in new business that adds to the tax, levy, the whole 9 yards. It's not as cut and dry as
It's sort of an eyesore.
as we think. Exactly, it's an eyesore. It could be a safety issue. So if it fits that parameters, that's the question I have.
All right. So it's not a decision we gotta make next week anyway.
It is not, unless you guys, like, on the 7th say, yeah, order a search warrant. Let's get in that building. I don't even know, maybe the BDC can order it too, but it might be easier for the city to do it.
Well, it just sounds fun. Should we do it?
I say, yeah, we definitely wait for the cost of the removal of the other 2 and see where that's going to run us through the board. And
But I
see.
mean, we should do we probably should do the search warrant so they can get in there and tell us it's as bad as the ones that are next to it.
I mean, how actively are we trying to get a hold of the guy who has the bill of sales?
This guy's been contacted by certified mail, by email, I think if we use Pony Express in there someplace. Telephone, I've given him their number.
To be totally honest with you, Jason, one of the reasons I started working on this level of the project with the city involved is because we couldn't get, the development court could not find a way to get a hold of them. And one of the board members said, what if the city pushed condemnation? Then maybe the guy would shake his tree and say something. So it's just
The next process.
it's the next process, and because I've
I'm
never
on
done
board.
it before, I needed to keep moving.
Yeah, I'm definitely on board. I'd say issue the warrant or the process for the warrant, or not the warrant.
The search warrant.
Search warrant. Yeah.
We should probably throw that on the next agenda then.
Yeah, because we giving them ample time. And
Well, that
especially
way,
the board's pushing it
The
too.
sooner the better.
Mhm.
I don't, that's if it survives this winter.
Yeah. Extra weight.
I'm serious, that roof was,
You were not in the building. The pictures do not do it justice.
from what I've been told, it's coming down.
Mm.
One way or the other.
All right.
It's a good thing we don't have a ton of snow right now.
Our help from Mother Nature. So
Yep.
yeah.
So-
most definitely. Well, and then we can definitely use that as the option for public safety then.
Mhm. Okay, so I'll put that on the December 7th agenda.
Yep.
Okay.
I don't know, does the DPC want to be here for that, or do they need to, want to know, or?
The development core won't meet before then, but I could put it past them and see if they're interested in having someone here.
Yeah.
Remember, it's truth and taxation too, so
I know.
your capacity that, I'm a little worried about that. But
Well, or if you want to, I guess we could run it past. No, we'll just do it.
Or give them the invitation to the Zoom meeting.
Yeah, we'll just do it.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't think they're gonna argue on that.
I don't think they're gonna say, no, don't do that. So now we get to declare vacancies, and you get to explain how this election stuff actually worked.
Yes, if
Good.
Sheldon were here, I'd swear him in because I'm supposed to, since this seat that he filled,
Yeah.
was supposed to be filled by the general election, so I'll have to swear him in, I guess, on December 7th. So I plan on doing that tonight. Okay, so I gave you guys two resolutions for discussion tonight. The first one, make sure I got these in order, is for the general election council seat. This one is pretty cut and dry. You know, we have a vacancy because Adam chose not to take the seat. If the city doesn't believe that it's going to get filled, then between now and January 1, the city can actually approve this resolution in the December 7th meeting. That's what Joe told me today. This one doesn't really have to wait. The other one, because of the special election seat, the 2-year seat, this one has to be approved on December 7th. This one was a bear to write.
She didn't put her letter of intention?
Not that I am aware of at this point.
Okay.
So that leads me to the conversation about how to fill the general election 4-year seat that Adam did not pick. So I talked to Joe today. You might remember at the canvassing meeting, we discussed how it's going to get filled. Max, I know you had. Oh, shoot. Hang on a second. I think this is Matt. Hello, this is Christina. We are not even to you yet. We probably need about another 10 minutes. Is that okay? Okay, perfect. Thanks, Matt. Okay, bye. I missed my opportunity. Nope, you're good. Okay. There was a couple of questions that we had about how we're going to fill this. I told you guys on the 13th that I was pretty sure it would have to be a special election. Max, you had asked me if that means that the person that's currently holding that seat would have to continue holding that seat. I asked all these questions to Joe today. I'm going to tell you what I heard or what I got from him. He did confirm that you would have to declare as a board the vacancy, and you could appoint somebody until a special election is held. Okay, if you could find somebody. But the current council member, which in this case is Jason, would not fill that seat until it's appointed or the special election is held, unless he chose to. Okay, but he doesn't just keep the seat until it's filled by special election.
Letter of intent then?
You could, yes, because Joe said it could be appointed, but only until that special election.
All right.
So you're appointed till you win it.
Pretty much.
So, second point, when do you have a special election? What happens? First of all, like I stated on the 13th, it's at our cost. I have to call the county, find out what that's going to be in order to have all our election equipment programmed and brought over here, plus the cost of your election judges. Your special election must be held on a uniform election date That's already set in statute. The options are the second Tuesday in February, which would be February 9th, the second Tuesday in April, which is the 13th, the second Tuesday in May, which is the 11th, and then we get into August and November. Obviously, we probably don't want to wait that long. I proposed the coincide when the townships meet, which typically is in March. He said we can't do that. Because I think the city's done it in the past when we did split liquor vote, and that probably wasn't legal. That was back in 14.
Huh. That's something.
I know.
I never voted against that.
Additionally, he said any appointments the council made to the vacancies that were to be filled at this election, the 2-year seats, have expired, which is, Nick and Sheldon. An appointment to a vacancy like this is effective, quote, until an election is held as provided in the subdivision. The city could certainly just appoint whomever was appointed previously, but Nick is taking the 4-year seat. But they would need to treat this like any other vacancy that occurs at this point in the term of that seat. So that's filling that with someone like Lexi or Cherry if they chose to. So questions before we decide on a date, because you're going to have to decide on a date. I've got work to do. The February one would be ideal, but I'm also doing the city audit that week. That's also the week of your council meeting. So it would be pushed off to April. April would be a little better for a couple reasons. One, February is kind of loaded. That might give the voters some time to find somebody that they would want to fill and put on the ballot. Because we just got done with an election. No one's thinking about another election right now, and they don't want to. And if we jam it down their throats right now and have an election on February 9th, I don't truly believe you're going to find anybody to file, unless Jason goes ahead and files.
I was just gonna say, the way that my school schedule works is I will not be applying for law school until the end of 2021. So, potentially I could give a whole nother year. So, I'm on board if the council and the city would still have me.
Problem is you still have to.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Has to be voted in.
I'm still gonna put in my letter of intent.
Okay.
That's where I'm going with it.
I follow you. So that's my 2 cents. You guys ask me questions or have discussion.
1, 2, 3.
4.
This is why I didn't want to do the appointments yet.
Yeah,
I don't think there's any potential recounts that the state of Minnesota is going to get forced to do from the presidential election. So April would still be, I'm sure February would be okay for the auditors down there to help out and get it ready. But I'm sure April would be easier.
Yeah. April works for everybody. Why not? I'm fine with it.
Okay.
Can we, and then we could just appoint Jason for now
To fill the vacancy until the election.
to fill the vacancy until the
That's how
election.
I understand it. Yes, Max.
So we're good to go.
Okay. That will, okay.
And then we're still, like you said, we're still short.
The 2-year.
Yes, but that can be filed by anyone at this point because it's less than 2 years.
So
So it
that's a
doesn't-
write-in.
that-
I already mean a letter.
Correct.
Excuse me.
Correct. So I'll have to,
So Jason could technically leave his seat, put in a letter of intent and take a 2-year.
yes, he could.
That's what I was just gonna say too.
Yeah, well, that's what Lexi was gonna do. That's why I asked about Lexi.
Yeah, I haven't heard from her.
If you can get her to
Right to
file
four.
for 4
Yeah,
years.
exactly.
then you only have a stand in for 1 year.
Mhm.
If you have to leave after next year.
Yeah. I'll leave that up
Lock
to you.
somebody in for 4 years.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I have to have the council call the special election by resolution.
Yeah, that would.
So you guys will have to declare the vacancy. And then I believe I have to write a resolution declaring a special election
Okay.
and that date. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you guys about this tonight is,
Perfect.
do you agree that the April 13th date would be?
That's a good thing, the best thing to do is put it down and get it started, but when do they have to file by?
I won't know that yet. I'd have to go back through the rest of my election things to find out how long they have to file. And it's usually, I want to say it's 90 days.
Did we have that long?
You had the end of July until the first part of August,
It was a 2-week period.
August, September, October. I
Okay.
want to say it was 90 days before the election. So March, February, January. I think they would have to file by it like sometime in January if I'm going off the dates right. I gotta double check and
Yeah,
and get Joe to help me with
I was
this.
just curious
Yeah,
if there was in statute a limit as to
I know there's a
when's their
time.
file
I
date.
know there's a number of days. Yes.
And are write-ins still another possibility?
Yes, they are.
So even though we get a candidate on the ballot, someone could still,
Right in after him. Right.
good.
Yeah.
And if we get no candidates on the ballot, is it just right in then, or we don't have an election?
Yeah, it's like we just got through.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even though
Yeah,
that's
we-
the only thing, it'll just be one line blank.
Right.
This person or this person.
That takes a little pressure off of hopefully someone files by a certain date, because we could get right-ins, we've done it once, we can get them again.
Yes, we have, but it's been proven that if you don't have a name in front of that dot, no one writes on that line. Unless you say, put my name down, put my name down.
Mhm.
And even then, you can't guarantee the person's gonna do that because they might forget. There's nothing there in front of them. It's just how we're trained.
Or put it in the wrong
Or
spot.
put it in the right spot.
See, last one wasn't too bad because they added them all up.
And that was not right. Yeah,
That was way different.
I learned a lot in the last 2 months. Joe congratulated us of having the most complicated election possible to have to certify.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad there wasn't like 50,000 people on.
Yep.
That'd been fun.
Okay. I'll get working on the rest of those
Yep.
resolutions.
Perfect. All right,
Um,
so
If I can get them on December 7th, I think that would be ideal, because then I can really kick that stuff going sooner than later.
and our petition.
Okay, so let me call Mr. Sparby. And I don't know where to put this, you guys, but this is the plat for what he's gonna discuss. So maybe if you guys don't mind, is this okay?
Yeah.
Let's show one more here. Oops. Okay. And then I'll call that.
What's the plot?
This is the,
Is that the whole?
this is where Rudnicki's tractor ranch is.
Oh, right. Okay, I got you.
If you look behind you, Jason, it's that little area on the southwest there, right there, all of that.
This little section, this triangle.
Well, he owns all of that. This is when he had us, annexed in. This whole portion is what we're discussing.
Okay.
This is Universal Drive, and then this is another drive, and this is, it's platted that way on that map.
Okay.
So this is that whole corner.
Yep.
South town, all ag land around it.
Say again?
I said it's the very south end of town, it's all ag land.
Hang on. Okay.
Hello there.
Hi, Matt, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Thanks for waiting. I appreciate that. Okay, so I have Matt Sparby on the line. Matt, let us know if you can't hear us, okay? Because we're all masked.
Okay.
Okay. I have in front of the council that's present, I have a copy of your plat map that was adopted back in, what was it, like late 90s? That sound right? And just to introduce what Matt is petitioning for is he is requesting vacancy of Universal Drive, Orion, and Milky Way. So they're all,
There's never been any signs up down there. except
Yeah.
Universal.
they were platted when all of this was done. So Matt, I know you don't have this in front of you, but you probably got it in your memory. Can you describe to the council your reasons and what you want to do?
Well, Corey Rednick, he has showed a lot of interest in purchasing the building. We're gonna sell that as a substantial loss to him, so he can keep his business going down there. And then the Snowmobile Club wants to purchase where the white building is, and I would like to retain the rest of the building, or the rest of the land. Agard's do farming on the front, and obviously my daughters and I on the back, and it's never gonna be financially feasible for us to ever put those roads in at a cost of roughly $75,000 to $90,000 just to put the roads in and then try to sell the lots. And I just don't ever see it coming to happen at all. And so we just want to make one 33-foot road in there, I think is what Matt Murray came up with for the Snowmobile Club for parking. And then Corey has showed some interest in building maybe a smaller storage building out back. So I'm going to redo the plat. I'm going to retain the swamp to this north of Corey's building and just basically keep it all for my family and I.
So just to clarify, the road will basically stop right behind,
Right basically at those pine trees.
yep, which is just about here, you guys.
And that other building, the Snowmobile Club will end up tearing down that white building. I actually just hired a company to come in and get rid of everything that's in there.
Okay.
They're not going to close on it, I don't think, for a while. I've just been kind of holding on to it for a few years now for him because I've never really tried to sell anything up there.
Okay.
Except for, I kind of owe it to Corey because he's been paying rent there for, 3 or 4 plus years there. And I don't really see anything else that could go in there. So it would be nice. It was a nice dream at the time, but I lost enough money on it. It's time to part ways and move on.
Okay, so how does this become of interest of the public?
What do you mean?
How does it benefit the public, Matt? Us vacating that road?
Basically, just that Snowmobile Club and Corey's business. Because it was never, ever actually finished anyways. It was never staked. We finished the plat through Murray surveying. This goes way back to when Kevin Beck was on the board. And so it was actually never even finished when we got that first bid for the roads.
All right.
Matt, do you see the parcels that you have already platted remaining?
No, those will all go back into basically probably farm ground, or it'll probably end up being, so the front 35 acres will end up being 3 or 4 lots total. And then that back 90, I believe, is in Hines Township.
Yep,
The line, I believe, runs with Magoons there.
yep.
And then the front will just be 3 or 4 parcels. So if Corey can ever swing it, I'm just planning for the future for him. I'll probably end up selling it to him on a contract for deed or something. I still will own with the city on that for, I'm not even sure what it is, $35,000. The one with the telephone company is now paid off. and then we owe a little bit to Security Bank on the main building. And then there's nothing owed on the lot that we're selling the snowmobile club. But, you know, I think it'll be good for the snowmobile club. I think there'll be a lot of parking out there. Hopefully that'll, you know, help the city by having that bigger lot there for them.
Right.
And, you know, a place to park and take off from, I guess.
Okay, Matt. What's our next steps, Christina? Do we need to December 7th? Make
I'll have to,
a resolution?
well, there has to be a public hearing, and I have to do a written notice by certified mail of everybody that's around there, even though we all know that it's only Matt. So I gotta go through the steps at least. And then, because as long as the city finds it feasible, then, or, you know, it's not a big deal, then that system will be streamlined really quickly because no one else owns the property. There's nothing we have to do with the DNR because, again, same concept. But I have to hold a public hearing, and then that could coincide with a city council meeting if you chose. And then anybody that has anything against or for can speak at that point. After which, if there's no issue, then the council can approve the vacation at that point.
And then Matt Murray will take over from there, helping us so everything's done properly.
Okay.
And everything's gonna be staked out this time.
Okay.
Where the snowmobile club is gonna be and Corey's is gonna be. And then there'll be that last piece out there.
Right. There has,
So
the,
it'll all still be in the city limits. We're
Right.
not taking out the city limits or anything. Just
Right.
trying to simplify some things.
And right now it's zoned as residential.
Yes.
yeah,
The back ones.
the back
ones
ones
that
are.
were taken out are zone residential, correct?
Okay, so are we gonna reclassify that for agricultural land?
I'll have to talk to, you know, that's kind of up to you guys. I guess I really don't care, you know, either way. It would be fine residential because who knows, maybe someday one of my kids would want to build a house there or something. And then they would have the front 30, you know, with the city or whatever's left, and then the back 90 in the back for hunting.
The only reason I'm asking is if it's classified as residential, are we even allowed to remove the road then, or the potential road?
It'll still be an easement. It's gonna be my easement through there. I'm gonna own the road going through there to the land in the back.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna give an easement to the snowmobile club and to Corey, if I totally understand it right.
right,
You know, it was never really, I mean, it was a road, but it's not like anybody maintained it,
right,
you know, besides me. And then I paid for that turn lane years ago with the highway department when
Right.
they forced that turn lane in there.
Right, yeah, I
took
just,
care of all that.
right, I just don't want it to have any complications, and if you're gonna sell it to somebody else and you don't wanna have a shared road or have to put in a road or all the extra complications.
And it'll be an easement
Okay.
to get to the back. And then I have no interest in really doing anything with it up there besides, you know, what we have been maintaining it, mowing it. You know, I got two guys that mow about 16 to 18 hours, so about 36 hours a week I'm paying out to keep that mowed up there.
We appreciate it, Matt.
It does look nice.
it does.
First thing you see when you come into town.
We appreciate it.
On a,
No,
No, I do too. I like it to look nice. Corey, you know, mows a little bit there, but we mow way too much. We mow all the way out to the pond. But it looks good.
yeah. On a timing, on a time frame schedule, obviously, I need the time to send all the writtens out, and it's got to be in the paper for a couple of weeks. So with the holidays and everything coming up, I wouldn't recommend that the council call a public hearing before the end of 2020. I don't know if that's gonna put a challenge on you, Matt, or
it's
not.
Just Corey knows that he has the first right on the building. I'm not trying to sell it to anybody else. The snowmobile club is out till 2020.
Mhm.
I just started thinking about this a couple months ago, and then got together with Matt Murray, and then he told me to get a hold of you, and we started moving forward on it.
Well, we're in favor of it, so
Okay.
we'll just take it as it comes then, Matt.
All right, sounds great. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Matt. I'll be in touch when I find out what dates we got, okay?
Okay, sounds good. We'll talk to you later.
Okay, have a good night.
Thank you. Yes,
Bye.
bye.
Okay, you guys got all your questions figured out then on that?
Yeah, that's,
Yeah, my biggest one was is it being classified as a residential for the use of the road, but
Nope, that was a really good question, actually. And I thought about that whole thing about it being residential. I mean, honestly, the only thing that really changes it, that's for zoning. For tax purposes, that's different.
so we only have to notify the abutting properties,
Yes, and there's
Not
none
the-
inside the city,
not the affected properties.
correct?
Okay.
Correct,
Cause that would, yeah,
yeah,
I
and
can see somebody just being a real, yeah.
patoot about it.
turntable.
So, getting back to a time frame calendar.
You're filling up 2021 pretty good.
I would need 2 weeks to have it publicized, which I can do towards the end of December. Your first meeting isn't until the 11th of January. I would not have a problem if you wanted to coincide it prior to your regular council meeting. And do it at like 5:30 prior to, if that'll work for you guys. If that's too early, please tell me.
Well, I can do 5:30 if you want.
Okay.
If I have the opportunity to still serve, might be a few minutes late.
Well, that being said, Jason, we can make it 6. and-
No, I'm literally
Okay.
like you could do like 5:45. 5:40.
My guess is you're probably not gonna have a whole lot of contested people, Max,
No,
on this.
there's not. It's just, yeah, I don't care either way, 5:30 or 6. You call it, Jason.
It just gives me enough time to leave my work and then go change. So unless you don't mind me in my, no, I can't do that because I don't want to bring.
Make
Jen, so-
it 6.
Why don't we
We'll
make
just
it
make it 6. I don't want to know what's unclosed.
Yeah,
Then
so
you don't want to.
Max, what you'll just do is you'll call your regular city council meeting to order.
Yeah.
Do your roll call, do your pledge of allegiance. And then just like you do for truth or taxation, you'll suspend the regular meeting and open the truth and taxation, or in this case, the public hearing. Close the public hearing, reopen your regular meeting, all in the same time frame.
Sounds great.
Okay.
Now, do we have to hold our meeting to 6 and 6:30, or can we do it at 6:15 just in case it goes a little longer? Then still do it at 6:30, or are we gonna have to be held to the 6:30 standard if we put 6:30 for starting our regular council meeting?
I would say just, it'll be held at 6 o'clock prior to the regular council meeting.
And that way we're not in that.
And now
time.
your language is better.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions about Matt's request?
It's really too bad it didn't work out for him.
Yeah, no kidding.
Kind of the way things go.
That's all I have, unless you guys have anything else for me. Or,
Is there anybody got?
I had something I'd like you guys to go around a little bit. Been thinking about some stuff and was wondering if you guys would entertain maybe a slight structural change on my department. What it really boils down to is,
Current or future?
what's that?
Current or future?
What do you mean?
Current structure or future structure?
Current,
Okay.
I think it would be what you're saying.
What you're occupying now?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's gonna be some changing coming in through the police department coming up, like, I'm just guaranteed. Christina's super busy. Christina and I work hand in hand with things we do together anyways. I was gonna have you guys entertain if I report directly to you guys. And, I think it would, Christina and I have talked about it over the couple of years, a couple times. I don't want to speak for her, but it didn't sound like when we talked that there's been any negative thoughts on making a structural change. So what it really boils down to is it takes, puts more responsibility on me. I've been doing this for coming on 5 years, and I believe I've got it figured out pretty good. And I need Christina to work hand in hand with, but she doesn't need to be under the microscope of the police department, especially in this day.
I apologize. When you said structure, I thought it was physical, not hierarchy.
Oh, well, I didn't know if you were saying, am I leaving or getting
No,
fired? Or
so
how you
no,
telling me?
totally apologize.
So anyways, after everything that I found, and like I said, I've been looking at this. This has come up several times over the last few years, or a couple of years. How we're doing it works, but me reporting directly to you guys works just fine too. So day-to-day operations aren't really going to change much. Christina and I work great hand in hand. And
So will there be like a police report that we get?
yeah, absolutely. It would be what, we can structure that to however you want, but yeah, I mean, it would be coming to you guys just as Christina would come to you guys with whatever you need.
A lot of cities have their police chiefs actually report to the councils and not to a manager. And a lot of that is what you and I discussed this morning, the difference between a civilian being in charge of somebody that is post.
So if you don't mind me, so what it really boils down to is a civilian can't tell a law enforcement officer what to do as far as any law enforcement duty. And so right now Christina's my direct supervisor, but it gets really convoluted when we all of a sudden have something that is law enforcement related into it, and it just.
Of which I can't advise.
Right.
So it.
Yeah, the only complication I could see foreseeing having that is if you send out. I'm assuming you're going to send emails to the entire council.
However you want it to look like. I mean, really, a whole lot of our day-to-day, what we do doesn't really change.
No, I understand that. I just don't want us to, accidentally hit reply all, and then all of a sudden we're in violation of open meeting law.
I think Jason's talking about their interaction with you, not necessarily your interaction with them.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Because like you said, that
And so,
as long as we're not replying
Yeah,
to the emails or to
right. Because we're not supposed to talk to each other with two,
but-
three or more.
yeah, for the quorum thing.
Right.
So, in reality, I don't believe a whole lot is going to be affected to you guys. I always say call anytime, email anytime, whatever. I don't keep information from you.
No.
Really, I don't think it would change day-to-day operation.
No, I just want to make sure that you're aware that you're going to have like 5 more responses or 5 more emails to
Sure.
answer instead of just the one.
Yeah, absolutely. Christina's busy enough. I'm not trying to say anything. She's got enough going on, and we work together when we need to work together, and nothing's going to change. I mean, I spoke with Christina about it, and I was concerned bringing it up because it has nothing to do with Christina. I work great with her. This is a good thing. It seems to make the most sense. I couldn't come up with any negative reason to do it, so we should look at it.
And in my mind, all it is a change to his job description as to who he reports to.
I was just going to ask that. So do we have to change our ruling on that?
That's no, we're still statutory city.
Right, I know, but I think it states that the department heads work under somebody, and then
It does. I guess this goes back to one of our conversations is city administrators are not statutorily needed. The city chose to have one. When you're at this population, a city can get by with just a clerk treasurer.
okay.
The administrative position was added for the managerial side of the city when it comes to HR.
Yeah, which is definitely
Typically,
none of us could do. I
Typically,
couldn't do what I do.
you would have a clerk treasurer, and then it would jump to like a city manager.
Okay.
Okay, but a lot of that is controlled by your population too. we're kind of in between that, and I think that's why the city administrator position was put in place as it was, because we have so many departments. Some cities that just have a clerk treasurer, they don't have a police department. They don't have a fire department. They might have streets, but they'll probably just have public, just water and sewer, and some of those is they won't have parks. So as cities get bigger, that deems that responsibility to it. So you would almost question, is this role that I'm sitting in needing to be a city manager position? No, it's not. It's not large enough. It could be if the city ever grew to that extent, but because the departments the city has, we have them, but they're not large departments. This city can be fine with just an administrator. They don't need to have a manager.
So we wouldn't need a motion or anything, it would just be a policy change?
I believe it would be a job description change, yeah.
Okay.
Well, and my thoughts, if this is something you guys want to entertain doing or move forward, Christina and I will sit down and figure that out, what it needs to be. I mean,
It's a job description, probably needs an update anyway.
Mr. Mayor, what are you thinking?
No problem taking a look at the job description.
Yeah, I'm definitely on board.
We haven't actually seen any job descriptions.
Anything to lessen Christina's impact.
Impact.
Well, impact would be the wrong word.
I knew what you meant.
Overload.
We knew what you meant. I knew what you meant.
it might be a baby step, but it's something. She doesn't need to be as busy as she is.
Exactly. Exactly.
And with the movements of coming up my apartment, it's my responsibility. So if something good or bad, I'll take it.
Yeah, I don't know. No problem with it. Does it go through personnel committee then? And
We discussed that today. To me, that's because of how we operate with a lot of committees. Another reason why we're situated the way we are. It wouldn't be a bad path to start with. I think Jace's reason for bringing it up in a work session was to bounce it off you guys to see if it's something, not to circumvent the system, but to at least know that it would be something that would be approved or at least taken on in a positive way instead of just accepting what a personnel committee would approve.
I can reach out to Minnesota Chief Police Association, and it relies on you guys for the decision, one way or another, if you want to do it or not.
But we also listen to the boards too.
Right. But yeah, yep.
The personnel committee can do the legwork to do the job descriptions and then make that recommendation as to, yes, this is how we'd like to see it changed. And then the council would approve it.
Yeah, I like it.
I have no problem with it.
I'd
like to see it.
My one input on it is I'm not on the personnel committee, so I'd rather my job description not get changed without me being part of it. Because I don't want it changed to now something that that isn't what I signed up for.
Oh,
You can't change my job
Oh,
description without me
absolutely.
knowing.
Yep.
Well, yeah, we're adding
That's
15
my
other
only
job
takeaway on
descriptions.
it, that if Christina and I can't be involved, I request to be involved. if
You
my
don't
job
want us to
description-
sneak in there.
Oh, I wouldn't see why
Cover for
not.
Mike when he's sick.
It would be no different than Mike being present with the personnel committee during a labor union contract.
Okay, perfect.
It would be no different.
That's all my only request. Before anything gets changed, I want to know about it.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Exactly.
Is there anything else?
I did. Oh, I had interviewed Mark.
Oh, nice.
So just to keep you guys rolling.
The
We got three
eligibility list.
people. If we were to hire anyone, something I didn't take into consideration, which is my issue for budgeting, is to do it properly, to field train someone. It costs us what, $10,000 each. Not, because we don't want to pay pay the sheriff's office or Bemidji, but we have to pay them a wage.
Mhm.
And so we're looking at approximately that. So I didn't even think about that moving forward. Not that we are in a bad place or anything. I just want to plant that in everybody's head because today was the first day I thought about it. And yeah, we may not have to pay for an agency to field train for us,
Mhm.
but we got to pay them a wage.
We did it when we lost our police chief and our full-time officer in 2016. This is no different. This is just as it would be if the city came across a huge lawsuit and needed attorney's fees.
Hmm.
It is not something you can plan for or budget for.
Right.
It happens.
I remember that.
Ready to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
I have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned.
Where's your wood thing?